Immediate. Basically, I think the first race I had was maybe a month to 6 weeks after I was on the PCs, and my running times all dropped considerably. Probably 30-second per mile average decrease.
The 10K run, I took 5 minutes and 28 seconds off my best time. And in that time, I had ridden 2,200 miles, and I had run 3 months. I may run maybe 100 miles.
I've noticed that my pace, I've improved my pace about 1.5 miles per hour quicker. I've noticed the differences in my races, and I've noticed that I finished a lot stronger.
So in an hour, you're running 1.5 miles more than you used to?
That's correct.
Wow. That's in 6 months?
Yes.
And tell us about what you've seen in improvement in both bike and run.
I used to run like 3:15 marathons, and which was the hard I could. I get the power cranks, and I do my first marathon in under 3 hours with no soreness.
For 2 years.
But I lay off for a couple months, and my times go down the toilet. And I get back on it, and within a month I'm back up to my regular time. So I mean, I can't stay away from it because the improvements are so big. I don't do long runs anymore. Everything's 20-mile max for the week, and I do my long bikes and the power cranks. Everything comes together.
Right away, actually, within a couple months, I saw some huge improvements in my running. Didn't do a lot of running that winter because the weather was really bad, so a lot of indoor cycling. And I usually do this test set for my running. It's about 4 by a mile, so I see how fast I can do my mile repeats. And normally they're about 5:20. 5 minutes, 20 seconds per mile. Then I got into the spring, February, March. I did a couple of running sessions and intervals over the winter. Got out running in the spring, and I went 5:15, 5:10, 5:05, and 4:58. And I was like, wow, where'd that come from? Because I'd hardly run at all. I've been doing his power cranks work on the trainer, and I was pretty impressed.
Absolutely, a big improvement in running. Big improvement, much more efficient. Yeah.
You could definitely feel the running, especially, and that was a major benefit and one I didn't expect. Even a 10-15 second improvement and a split, and obviously over a course of a marathon, definitely it's going to add up and it's going to be a huge improvement.
15 seconds per kilometer?
Yeah.
You just told me that this year you've seen some great running improvement?
Yes, it's like everything is coming into a point. Like I've PB'd in half marathon, I've PB'd in 5Ks, I PB'd in my running split in my triathlon, so everything is going so well on running. It's been incredible lately, really incredible.
And you said you're running with the marathoners, right? You're not just beating the multi-sport people, but you're running, you're the only multi-sport person running with real runners.
Actually, back in Ottawa a few weeks back, we had the first time women's only 5-kilometer race, and I participated in that one. Just in the morning I got up and said I'm going to go into the race, and then I started really strong and I was able to hang out with all the runners, and I finished the race in 8th place, but everybody ahead of me were all pure runners, like sponsored runners, top marathoners of the country, runners that have done amazing results, and I was the first multi-sport athlete, and people were looking at me and said, Marie, you're doing Ironman, how can you run a 5K so fast? Must be a secret to it, right?
So your time was 18 minutes?
18 minutes flat for a 5K. To me, it's unbelievable. Like I never thought I would be able to go so fast because I don't train for that type of speed. And I did a 1:25 in the Ottawa National Capital Half Marathon, and that was a Sunday morning. And on the Saturday, I did a 6 hours bike ride followed by a 30 minutes run. So I had a really, really tough workout on the Saturday, and the aim of the game was to run flat out on tired legs on the Sunday. And I couldn't believe how fast I was able to go. I finished 3rd overall women, which was an improvement from 8th the year before. And the only 2 people ahead of me were women from Morocco, professional military runners. So people have been invited and paid to come to the race. So people in the city is starting to look at me, so what's happening to you, Marie? I guess good, solid training is the good answer. I don't know what's up with Dave, because Dave had gallbladder surgery last year. He hasn't been able to start running before January, so actually he had to put in a lot of miles in the last few months. He didn't have a great performance in Arizona because I was too early, but this summer he's been hitting kilometer repeats with one of the top marathoners in Ottawa, and his friend is bent over at the finish line after each kilometer, and Dave is looking at it and saying, come on, Stefan. But then it's a different, they're working different, a little bit different. Stefan does a lot more running, but still, like, people are really impressed with his running right now, so it's going very well.
In 2003, the Duke women finished 23rd in the NC2A Cross Country Championship. Then coach Kevin Germain got power cranks, and in 2004 the team came in second, and they continue to be hot, very hot.
That was the biggest. I was not thinking I was going to improve my running, but you know, I was a very very slow marathon runner. Just in marathon I was running in 4 hours, 4:05. In the Ironman, basically the same, for 3:54. My last marathon I did it in Brazil, that it was a tough, very tough run, very hilly, and I did it in 3 hours and 34 minutes in the Ironman. So it's incredible. I improved a little bit of my bike and a lot of my run, and I thought it was going to be a big improvement in my bike. I improved it. I was one of my fastest bike. I split 5:07 in the bike. But the running was incredible because I already was a good biker. But running was incredible.
Running, I saw PRs in my 5K distance within 3 or 4 weeks, and within 6 months, my legs just don't get tired running. I can run all day.
It's made the running much quicker.
My personal best for a 10K was about 48, and a 10K at the end of my last triathlon I did in 39 minutes.
Knocked 5 minutes off my half marathon time. I went from a 1:28 down to a 1:23.
For the hilly Wisconsin course, I did a half marathon PR.
Okay.
My training is at speeds on the bike that I've not seen before.
Well, the biggest improvement is that my run mileage now is about 10 to 12 to maybe at the max 14 miles a week. And my performances are at a level that they've been at since I've trained even 35, 40 miles a week. So my training is really a lot less, but my performance is much higher.
That's correct. I've been a 100-meter sprinter for the last 17 years, been on 11 U.S. national teams. So, that's been my background in athletics as a sprinter.
And since you started Power Crankers, you're now a record holder, right?
Yeah, actually the first year I used the cranks, I set the age group record for 38-year-olds in 100 meters at a time of 10.34, so not bad for an old man.
Yeah, absolutely helped my running. I got the power cranks about 4 months before the New York City Marathon, and I rode on them exclusively. I rode them, I'd say, twice a week, and then ran like 3 or 4 times a week. Did the New York City Marathon 10 times. This is that year, 10 times I PR'd. So I PR'd by it's probably about 12 minutes. Normally I would run the marathon between 3:40 and 3:55, but I went 3:28 without that much running. Yeah.
Running, I've taken. My marathon before fastest was 3:45, and then I've taken another 10-15 minutes off that now. I think it's 12 and a half or so. And just I don't run nearly as much, and it's higher impact. I'm getting into ultras and doing that sort of thing. But and get a little bit faster on it each time. And it's just overall only for a few months, so it's a huge difference. I'm a huge fan.
Been racing a lot better on the run. Did a number of road races this past spring, and they've been going very well for me. I was a college runner, so just to get back to those times and be competitive again was very, very rewarding for me.
Well, I noticed it right away when I started commuting to the track. So I'd commute to the track. It's about a 45-minute to an hour commute to the track, and I guess it activated my hip flexors so much that every time I rode with the power cranks, my track workouts were incredible, and they were much better. And I thought they'd be tired, and track workouts wouldn't be as well. And every time, those are the days I had my best workouts. So I pretty much noticed them as soon as I started commuting. I thought, well, what better way to get to the track than my power cranks instead of my mountain bike or something or driving. So I did that, and I noticed it pretty much right away.
So
So can you document? Can you tell us what kinds of speed improvements you've seen over the time on both the bike and your running?
Well, I'd say in my mile repeats, I was like going, I don't know, 15, 20 seconds a mile faster. So my runs, typically I was running 3 in teens when I first started out, and Ironman like 3:15, 3:17, sometimes 3:18, 3:20. Now I was 3:04 in Wisconsin, 3:04. So now even when I'm not having a great day, I'm still around 3 hours.
What are your mile repeats? What are your, I mean, you said you took 15 seconds off.
I was running about 5:20s, mostly 5:20 per mile or less. I do 5 or 6 of those on 5:20s, holding about 80 seconds per lap. So it's about 5:20 per mile with about 45 seconds rest. And I was probably doing maybe 5:40 before, maybe 5:45. And when I rode the hip with the power cranks, I was always my best workout. Some of them just over 5, in fact.
Did you notice any running changes or improvements?
Again, just look at the results. I went from like a best of 3:15 in the marathon, and last year I ran 2:57 here, so that's another big improvement.
What I had an injury, depending on the muscles in the feet, I don't know how that's called. I had flat feet.
Okay.
And this improved, maybe because of the connection to the shin muscles or something. There was a side effect which was I was happy about.
Unexpected.
Unexpected, yeah. I think I emailed you, and and my wife is a physiotherapist, and she explained it to me like roughly, but she said, yeah, it might be from the power crank riding. Yeah, in Brazil in May this year, I've won my first Ironman race, and I'm racing since 15 years or longer, I don't know. So, you're always looking for new means to improve your performance, and you can't put more strain on your body, but you can train more effectively, and, that's one. I'm always wondering how much volume some pros are training, and I can't. It's not possible.
Yeah, and one of the biggest ones that everybody says right away is the running. The running is, whoa, my goodness, all of a sudden I'm running better, and, a lot of them don't really think it's the cranks until I tell them, and then they understand.
And the running doesn't take that long, does it?
No. Just bam, all of a sudden they're running better right away.
Our experience is about 2 weeks.
Yep, right about that curve time when you start to be able to do normal volumes on it, all of a sudden it's, I'm running better.
Right,
so,
very cool.
Yeah.
And certainly this is in my second year, the results I think have been much more quantifiable. I'm biking just as well. I set a course record in a couple of races this year on the bike, but my run times have been more improved. I improved from a 3:31 run in Lake Placid, which had been my best ever run after 5 Ironmans. This year I did a 3:12, and it was a lot easier than in the past. So, but the more you use them, I guess the more the improvements.
Right. But your background, you were a pretty good cyclist.
Yeah, I came from
So that
my run had kind of plateaued. I ran the same PR for a 5K 3 years consecutively. I ran exactly the same time, and then I was a 16:59 on 3 consecutive years. Last year I ran a 16:07. So there was some big improvements there.
Actually, hairline fractured my pelvic bone in a crash at an Xterra this year, and couldn't run for about a month. And I trained solely on power cranks when I was building myself back up, and it just strengthened my hip flexors enough to and just kind of mimic that motion of actually running. And I came back running much stronger, won my first race that I was back at, and have been running great since. Really no hitches.
It's not bad to be injured and come back to win your first race, right?
No, I was actually pretty stunned for that to have happened. I hadn't run once before the race, but had only trained on the cranks, and it turned out okay.
I come in good for the run, and I haven't been training so much running, but still my running is faster, and I get a better leg turnover in the run when I'm running normally.